The following podcast is an RMG Media production.
Welcome to the Renaissance Podcast, a podcast for Renaissance women
and men
who want to create a modern-day Renaissance in their life and business.
We interview some of the most successful entrepreneurs and share their unique stories.
Are you ready to create your Renaissance? Okay, well, we are rolling right into the podcast today. We are back. We have a gentleman here who we don't normally have a lot of guys on this show.
Okay.
So this is
interesting.
He's like, oh, what am I getting myself into? It's typically Renaissance women that we have on the Renaissance podcast, but we get a couple Renaissance men from time to time.
Okay. Yeah. I went through y'all's, I guess, like the archive of guests and was trying to find someone similar to me or anything. I was like, all right, it should be an interesting episode.
It should be because, Andrew, I don't think there are a lot of people like you.
It's very true. Yeah. I was like, it sounds a little arrogant to say that, but it's like I have a very unique story. It's hard to relate to somebody that's kind of gone through my background to where I am now. So
yeah,
I guess in a positive way, yeah, it's a very unique thing.
Yeah. So you were just telling us off air, you were 3 years into your residency to become a surgeon. You quit cold turkey.
Yeah. The goal was kind of went to Vandy, studied nuclear medicine, and wanted to go into like radiology.
Wow.
Just loved that aspect of medicine. And then healthcare gets very political, gets very corrupt. You start kind of making your way up the chain. Had a great job, was at Vandy, and then went to HCA, another large hospital company around here. And then just kind of on the whim, was like, you know what, I'm not thinking this is the right fit anymore. And like I was telling you guys, just kind of quit on the spot. And from there, kind of wanted to pursue, I guess, the, what's it called? Another side of healthcare where you're like the CEO, CO, the administrative side.
Oh, wow.
That's the best way to say it. That way you kind of overseeing how hospitals run. I had the clinical side, but I was like, maybe we should get into administration. That way I could kind of balance both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And applied to 26 different residencies and fellowships. Didn't get into a single one. So that was kind of the last straw of like, okay, maybe, the last 8 years doing healthcare isn't my calling. Let's kind of go back to the drawing board. I was 26. I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, where are we going to go from here? So that's kind of the small detailed background of, kind of how I was at Vandy, HCA, and what kind of led us to do Six Pack.
Wow. That's super cool. So at that time, were you already operating Six Pack coverage, or was this like after you had quit?
Yeah. So Six Pack, I guess we really started in July of 21. Before that, we started in 2020. We were a sports betting company. Wow. I love sports. I love the analytics behind like the total points or who's supposed to win. And so most people actually don't know that at all. Probably maybe 10 people do, but we were a sports company.
Interesting.
And so I would get on, talk about, hey, the Titans are playing the Eagles this weekend. I think the Titans are going to win because X, Y, Z. And so we're doing that for probably almost a year.
Wow.
But then obviously that's a very small clientele. Like most women aren't interested in that.
Yeah.
A lot of guys aren't even interested. So,
yeah, I don't like to lose money. So.
Yeah, exactly. That too. And so we had a very kind of niche market. And then, we took a step back and like, hey, how do we get women involved? How do we get non-sports bros involved? And so that's kind of where Six Pack was born was, hey, we have sports, but what are other areas? So then we got those other 5 areas that we now focus on. And then hence, Six Pack was born from that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I love the entrepreneurial stories like yours because I think sometimes in life, like when doors consecutively close and they're just not opening at all, you can't even get a foot or a toe into the door. And it's like sometimes when that happens, even if like you have this much talent, you have this much knowledge, you have this many years of school and hard work, sometimes it's just your path is going to be different. Your journey is going to be different, and that's okay.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, it's very hard to
let go of.
Yeah, and to grasp that. And so for me, it was like, from high school, I wanted to go into healthcare, and then majored in kinesiology at UT, graduated almost with a 4.0, went to Vanderbilt, got my MBA, my MHA, graduated top of my class at everything. And it's like, okay, I have the perfect credentials, and now
perfect resume.
Went 0 for 26, and not one place wanted to bring me on. I was like, okay, there's something wrong with this. I was expecting a handful of no's, but it's like to not even really get my foot in the door was obviously a little crushing. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm 26. I've spent an ungodly amount of money on tuition and kind of getting me this far. How do I just suddenly pretend like that didn't happen and go into something like business where I have very little experience. I have no marketing background. I didn't take any classes on that other than a few like in my MBA program, but not enough to be like, okay, I'm comfortable starting my own business.
It's crazy. Well, and then how, so, I mean, because Six Pack is pretty massive. You're on a whole college tour right now. You were just there, you did what, 12 schools like over the last?
Let's see, we're on, oh my gosh, we just finished school 5 and 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've got 4 more. So we're doing, what is it, I guess 10 total for the spring. Yeah.
That's crazy. You had an 18-hour journey back home from, what was it, West Virginia?
West
Tour
Virginia.
bus broke down, the whole thing. How did we start? How did you get, I mean, you're over 100,000 followers, massive, growing year over year, month over month, day over day, continuing to scale. What was the starting place like, and how did you get this thing going?
Yeah, so really the idea of really expanding came on our very first college tours 2 years ago. We went to UT. It's my alma mater, and a lot of my team went there. We were at one of our bars, our partnered bars we have, and just some kid came up to me and was like, "Oh, you're Andrew Grayson. You run Six Pack." And I was like, holy cow. I was like, no one's ever said that. It was like this feeling of like, okay, you're on the right track. And he's like, how do I work for you guys? And so that was kind of the start of like, hey, what if we get these mini Six Pack chapters at all these schools? And so that guy, like I won't say names, like that guy helped start the UT page.
That's awesome.
So we had Six Pack Vols, and from there just kind of grew to, hey, let's get all the SEC schools. Let's get Six Pack Bama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Okay, let's go to the Big 12. Let's get Texas, Oklahoma. And so it really started expanding of, hey, we're not just reaching a lot of people in Nashville. It's like now we have 44 schools across the country. I mean, those 44 pages individually are reaching about 1.7 million people. And so it's like that alone is just the college market. So it kind of was, going alongside the Nashville branch, but almost growing too fast.
Yeah.
In terms of, we were getting DMs, probably 10, 12 DMs a day of like, hey, I go to school to Indiana. There's no Six Pack chapter. Can I start it? Hey, I go to Maryland. I'm a marketing major. Can we get interns?
Yeah.
Or an internship? So now we've got 307 interns, 44 schools. So it went from this small, like, yeah, let's get a small chapter at UT to, we have to have weekly meetings. We have a whole team dedicated to just the interns because it's, like I said, we have a great army of 307 kids.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's hard to manage.
How are you grasping all that?
So the way we break it down is we have one head intern at every school, and then they've got a team under them of like 6 to 8. Oh, wow. And so like for UT, like I'll say his name. His name's Grant. It's like I'll call Grant. We'll talk about, hey, what's working, what's not working, and then he relays that to the rest of the team.
Wow.
And then every Monday night we have a Zoom call with all 44 people of like, hey, what's working at Ohio State? Can we implement that at UT? It's like, hey, we just had a big giveaway here at Florida. It worked out really well. You guys should use this at your schools. And so it's a way for kind of the Florida kids to talk to Maryland, to Oregon, to Arizona State. And so we all come together. It's just like a quick 30-minute Zoom call. And like we spice it up. Like we'll have jersey theme. So everyone will hop on their favorite jersey.
Nice.
Next week we do Hawaiian. So kind of like spice it up a little bit.
Keeps it fun. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the only way I can, I guess, help manage that is with these head interns, and they're almost like a project manager,
right?
And help lead, each of these schools.
Really cool. Wow, that's insane because we know what it's like to work with college interns. Are they coming up with like individual strategies and like setting up local partnerships with all the businesses in that area, or how do they work? Are they like tasked to monetize?
Kind of. The monetizing, not so much. It's more of so like Six Pack, our 6 areas are sports, fitness, finance, food, travel, and entertainment. So we cover that on a national level. And these interns, they focus on that except just for their school.
Right.
So like so Six Pack Vols, for example, over in Knoxville, they'll cover all the food places to go to. Like, hey, if you're trying to take a girl on a date, go to Copper Cellar. They've got $5 burger night on Wednesdays. Fitness, we've got a couple fitness bros on all these teams that'll, talk about, hey, how to cut for the summer, how to bulk up for the winter.
Nice.
So they do the same things that the main page does. It's just kind of specific to Knoxville, Tuscaloosa, wherever it is.
Great. Such a great brand building tactic as well.
Yeah, I mean that's grown us. I mean they grow faster than the main page does.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how do you determine success on the pages? Like from a data analytics, like what's a win for you guys from a content standpoint?
That's a great question. I guess for the college pages, I mean obviously you can look at like the followers and just kind of very, I don't know what the right word is, but just kind of like standard data of like, oh, you got 1,000 new followers this month. The way I like to track it is obviously like the insights and then just how much fun the kids are having if they're doing, like, 'cause a lot of these pages all started at 0, and now a lot of them are 4, 5, 10, 12,000 followers. Bars are wanting to reach out to do, collaborations and, hey, can we have a 6-pack night at, this bar?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I like to measure where, people are wanting to reach out to these guys to do stuff on campus, whether it's, hey, Copper Cellar's doing, come in and say 6-pack 10, you get 10% off at Copper Cellar tonight. So it's like, I like to measure it as like, businesses are reaching out, not necessarily like the kids aren't getting paid for it. I wish we could pay 307 kids, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of a success level is just, these pages growing as a fact of we have to constantly keep sending merch. There's constantly events going on just to see how far these guys can really take it and just growing it.
I love that.
It's really cool. Well, it's good experience for them as well. I mean, when we're looking to hire someone, we've had quite a few people that have come from, pages like yours, and it's massive experience. It's great. Obviously, like Barstool, I know is like what y'all like. The model's very similar, and we've seen a lot of those people that will have that on their resume. And for me, I'm like, if you're running one of these local pages and you're showing that you can grow these social accounts, it's massive for us. So even though it may be unpaid, it's great experience in return.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You break down all of our interns. We've got kids that want to go to med school. We've got kids that are don't even like marketing. They just like, posting content or making content. Obviously, we want, marketing, advertising, business majors because it looks good for them trying to get, a job with you guys or just, when they graduate.
Right.
But we have the most diverse, I guess, majors, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I think we've got probably 10, 15 criminal justice majors.
Wow.
It's like this is not going to relate to what you're doing at all.
It's crazy.
Well, I think young people, and I think it's just the nature of like the current state that we're in with hiring, but having social media experience to any capacity, I think no matter what you're doing is attractive, right?
It
Like it's
helps,
just about like diversity of a resume. Like, well, I have some brand building experience. I have some social media experience. Like it's attractive, especially if you're going to like a smaller business where they're like looking for someone that can wear a lot of hats.
Yeah,
right.
they can help grow that. Mhm.
Right. Like, or if you're going into management or whatever, like it's valuable to have social media knowledge and education no matter what. And it's kind of like an expected thing too with young people now. Like if you're getting hired by anyone, if you're a young person, if you're under 25 or under 30, it's like you kind of need to have social media experience and a baseline knowledge too.
Right.
That's interesting. How so you started, this really kicked off 2021. How long did it take for you to monetize and get moving there?
Oh, a long, long time. So we started, I guess, the conversion, like when we got the business license for 6-pack was July of 21. We went 30 months, it just hemorrhaging money. Just every month. Our first profitable month was this past January.
Oh, wow.
January 23. So it took us 30 months to get there. Obviously, we're not rolling in money yet. Hopefully that's going to start happening. Hopefully, but yeah, I mean, it was a very just daunting process of like, okay, hey, we're 3 months in, we're 6 months in, we're still dishing out all this money. Like, is there gonna be a return? And it's like, hey, 12 months later, we still haven't gotten there yet. And a lot of that's, the marketing, advertising. We're sending out shirts to all these schools, trying to grow it that way. We're doing events here in Nashville. We're renting out places, just obviously just trying to grow. You're not going to grow for free. You gotta spend money to make money. Just for us, I don't know if 30 months is normal, if that's short, long, but just
I mean, you're in such a unique space, so who's to even tell what the process is supposed to look like?
Right, exactly. So
that might
there's
be
a lot of conversations with my dad of just like, hey, are you really doing this little, fantasy project? 'Cause I started this in my childhood closet.
Oh, wow.
Moved back in with my parents and was doing grad school, getting my MBA and doing sports focus. That's what it was called before. And then ultimately, gave up healthcare and just kind of as a joke to my parents, as I'm sure most parents would react of like, oh, you're going to do some funny Instagram skits or something. And like, how are you going to make money? It's like you're turning down, a very well-paying 6-figure job to like talk about sports and hire college kids and go to bars. And I'm like, kind of, but there's more to it. So that was a very, I guess, interesting process of like, hey, do I die to my parents or die to myself?
Right.
Like, do I make them happy and, get back on the horse and try to go get another degree and strengthen my resume? Or if it's like, hey, do I, die in my parents' eyes of like, I'm going to go do this on my own. Like I don't know what's going to do. I have no experience. Like I'm extremely hardworking. I feel like I can outwork a lot of people. And so ultimately I was like, hey, I got to die in my parents' eyes of like, hey, look, I'm not going to do healthcare. And I've gotten that support obviously as we've grown a little more, but it was a very daunting kind of conversation in 30 months of like, oh my God, are we really like, how much longer are we going to do this before it's like, hey, we just got to quit and let's just go get a 9 to 5 to start paying bills.
Right. I think we need to talk, I feel like, about risks and taking risks as a young person and doing it. Because I think so many people are influenced by their parents. And like how you just said, you're either going to die to yourself, you're going to die to your parents. That's, I think, kind of eye-opening. Because a lot of people will do the safe thing. I don't want to disappoint my mom, you know?
Right.
My dad, they're going to be mad at me if I do this. I quit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I come from a very disciplined, very strict kind of background, like in a positive way. And so it was always, you know, hey, you don't have to be number one in your class. You don't have to be the best, but it's like, hey, you're going to work hard. You know, here's the consequences of if you work hard. Here's a lifestyle you could provide for your family, that kind of thing. And so, like, it's funny, like my dad didn't have a great background, didn't come from a lot of money at all, was the first one to go to college in his family, just worked his ass off to kind of where we had and grew up in the Franklin Thompson Station, grew up in a nice area, just kind of a normal middle-class home. So I was like, okay, that's where I need to be. I need to work hard to do that. So it's like taking the risk of like, yeah, hey, I'm not going to make 150, 250,000. I'm going to go hemorrhage money for 30 months and maybe start being able to pay rent from there. So that, I mean, the risk of just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but let's watch YouTube videos. Let's listen to podcasts of people that have kind of done stuff similar to this, like to get some motivation or to get some discipline of like, okay, we can do this. You know, how do we start growing? Yeah. And so, like I say, it's a very daunting process for that. And you know, we're still obviously working on it. We haven't made it yet in my eyes, but yeah, the risk is a big factor of it.
Yeah.
And everything's figure outable, right? I mean, I think that's like the realization we all need to have is like, you know, this is so innovative what you're doing. And it's not to say there's a complete roadmap to building something like this online or whatever, but there's resources if you're resourceful. Right? Like, and that's such a huge thing. And I think we say to our team and to our clients and people that are, or anyone in my life that's interested in entrepreneurship, it's like, you just figure it out. If you have that determination and that grit and you're, you know, like you're scrappy, you can just figure it out. And I think that's so cool that you did, even though I'm sure you had pressure and you probably had naysayers and you probably had people that maybe were like you said, your dad was like, what are you doing up there?
Exactly. Like, yeah. It's like talking to a lot of my friends, like checking in. It's like, oh, okay, so you're going to be a baby bar stool. And I'm like, well, like, yes, but like, we're not just going to focus on that 18 to 24-year-old market. It's like, I want, you know, parents to come to the website and have something that keeps them entertained, whether it's a podcast, whether it's our finance section, sports. And so, yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you said. There's no roadmap. It's just kind of throwing everything at the wall and what sticks. Let's try to run with that. So it's, yeah, great way to put it.
What parameters do you have for the content? Like, is there a content approval, content review process, or do you just kind of have a really strong kind of like guidebook for the 44 project managers that are able to be like, here's what we will post, here's where the line is drawn for us that we maybe won't post something like this? Because I'm sure some of your submissions are a little,
Yeah, we've had a handful that are kind of crossing that line. And we've had a handful that will get posted, and Instagram will take them down. Oh, wow. And so we've had to...
Dang community guidelines.
Yeah, that's the word. Community guidelines. Yeah. And so, like, some of them obviously are a little ratchet. It's like people thrown up at a bar, but there's something funny going on in the background. And so, like, we have to kind of tailor it to, like, yes, the college pages, their audience are college kids. Yeah. It's like they don't need sophisticated videos. And so some of that is pretty funny, like tailgating videos or, you know, bar footage. But I'd say we have a loose guidebook, if you will, to what they can and can't post. And, you know, if I'm like, hey, if you're iffy about it, then just don't do it.
Right. Gut check.
Yeah. And so some of them, you know, they'll watch it 2-3 times, like, oh, okay, we're not going to post it. And then a lot of times they'll send me stuff like, hey, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you post it? But then other times it's like, oh my God, don't do that. Please don't. Yeah. It's like y'all's pages can get taken down.
Right. Yeah.
Which that's like kind of the risk too, especially with those college pages, because you really do have to kind of toe that line.
Yeah. We had, it's funny, our LSU page, oh, what's the girl's name? There's like this big influencer, Libby. I don't know if y'all have heard of her. She's a big LSU gymnast.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
We had a video of her on our LSU page, like an embarrassing video. Like, I didn't think it was embarrassing. It was just her at a bar. And she and all of her friends, we found out, like, reported our LSU page and got taken down.
Oh, wow.
And so we had to start from scratch after like 5,000 followers there. Damn. So it's like, okay, the power of the blue check mark and the influencer really kind of took it down. But the video is hilarious. There's nothing bad about her. But yeah, to your point, you know, that stuff can kind of ruin that that page or get taken down.
What are your thoughts on the blue check mark verification and how pretty much anyone and everyone can get that now? It's pretty controversial in the social world.
Yeah, because it was like what, only businesses and
It was
I
like
guess influencers.
Yeah, if you had
a certain amount of press
or like notoriety and you or there were a ton of fake accounts or whatever, you'd get verified to prove that you were actually Kim
but Instagram
Kardashian.
had this like CIA of people that would very selectively approve you through a very, like, it was almost like a board of people that would be like, should this person get verified? And if they felt like they didn't have enough press or that someone maybe wouldn't imitate them, then they wouldn't.
This whole review process.
Yeah, it was like this whole thing. And we were getting calls from clients all the time, like, how can I get verified? How can I get verified? And it's like, it's out of my hands. Like, we can submit you to be verified, but then it's up to Instagram's
whatever their checklist of people.
Checklist of people. And anyway, but now anyone can pretty much pay to get verified.
Yeah, it's funny. I submitted I guess it was the request verification. I submitted mine back in September and was like, hey, I've got a bunch of healthcare articles and a handful of like 6-pack stuff, and then just nothing happened until April, I guess March. Yeah, March. I woke up and I had one, and then it's funny. Like a month later, one of the kids I went to school with has like 800 followers. Like one of my best friends is like, I'm verified. I was like, dude, I was like, you work at Enterprise. Like there could be 50 of you. Yeah. I was like, why? And so it's like,
if you work at Publix as a shop checkout person, like you can literally get verified.
Yeah, it's like, Teresa at Publix verified. It's
Teresa at Publix.
It's so funny. They're just paying. I mean, you're literally just paying Instagram. You're just paying them $15.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a monthly or annual fee with it.
But the only thing I was going to ask you is, I have had friends that say that they're interested in that verification because they've actually lost their accounts before because they went against community guidelines. And what the word on the street is that it can have extra layer of security on your account. So extra layer of like protection that maybe you won't. But obviously Instagram's going to do what they're going to do. If you go against their guidelines, they're going to kill your account.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent about it. Like I think it would look cool to have like the 6-pack account verified. But I mean, I'm not like losing sleep over it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of indifferent. Like I kind of go both ways at times of whether it's good or bad for social media.
Yeah.
I think for bigger accounts, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I think for
definitely
your
do.
account, I think it would make sense. I think it's just silly if you have under 10,000 followers and no press. And
Even if you have 10,000 followers, like that's nothing crazy. I feel, like let's get over it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're nothing special here. A lot of people.
But if I do think it can work if, people try to hack you, or if like people are trying to make fake accounts. You know how you'll see your friend post on story and they're like, don't follow this account.
Like, report
that's not
this
me.
Or something.
Yeah.
Report this. Yeah. And it's like, if that, I do think having the blue check mark would prevent that from happening. I feel like from like a back end of Instagram, but anyway.
There's also, I mean, they'll never release their algorithm, but there are a lot of people saying that right now, if you pay for the verification, you'll get a boost in the algorithm.
Which they maybe said that because they want that boost in sales. But
I was gonna say they get an extra, like $50 a month from it or something.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think Instagram, when they first released it, there was something like they made like $660 million in a day.
Oh my God.
For selling those blue check marks.
God.
It's so
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
It's insane, the amount of money that's on social media.
And that's just going to reoccur every month.
Yeah.
God, that's
stupid.
Yeah.
It's dumb for them to have not done that. You know? They really, I mean, because Elon was the first one that did that, right? With Twitter. And everyone talked shit about it. And then like a couple months later, Instagram was like,
maybe we should hop on that.
Hop on that train.
Yeah.
And but it's also like, hey, I appreciate the entrepreneurial hustle. I appreciate like a business just wanting to make more money.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm not dogging them for it. You made $600 million for rolling out something.
Who wouldn't do it? Yeah.
If you're just like able to, let's just turn this on for everyone and click one button
See what
and
happens.
Make that much money.
It's insane.
Yeah, I'd probably do too. But so what are next steps? You are on this tour right now. Is this tour over or
about halfway through?
Okay, tell us about the tour.
So it's funny, the tour, a lot of people think that's like all 6-pack is, but in reality, it's like 5%. So we started this new thing last August. We call it the 6-pack Artist Spotlight. So Nashville, everybody and their brother's a country music artist or wants to be. And so what we wanted to do was give musicians a chance to like get exposure. I mean, like I it sounds very arrogant, but I'm just going to say it. I could post a video of like my dog taking a piss and it's going to get like 20,000 views.
That's amazing.
And so it's like, hey, what if we go out and get some of these artists that are, like struggling artists. They're playing on Broadway. They're playing in their garage making YouTube videos. And if they're good, why don't we bring them on, give them exposure, help them grow? That's
great.
And so we made a post about it. We had 81 people reach out being like, hey, I just moved to Nashville, or hey, I've been here 6 years. I play on Broadway, how do I get involved? And so we cut that down to 8 artists, and then we bring them on tour. And so the idea of this tour is the Six Pack CMA Fest. That's what we call it.
Nice.
So we go to these schools and we do like a Friday, like 6 to midnight, or a Saturday, like 2 to 7, like a darty. And I hadn't used that word since I was like a senior in college.
I don't know that
but
word.
Day party.
Oh, wow.
Day party.
Well, that shows everything you know about me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not a big party girl.
So yeah, that's the idea of it. Barstool never did this. I was a frat guy in college. We never had this. So it's a very new concept of like, hey, rather than pay one artist to come play for like an hour, why don't you cut that in half, pay Six Pack? We have all these artists that are coming up. They're really good, and we'll do a whole day party.
Wow.
Really cool.
We bring out a whole stage, all the production. I mean, it looks like a mini Bonnaroo out there. It's so much fun. I'll have to show you all the videos.
Because you were just at
afterwards.
UGA, right? Recently?
You were
in
there
Athens?
March 23rd or 5th. Yeah.
Nice.
That's Walker went to school there, and that we're from Atlanta, so like everyone we went to school with went to
Makes
UGA.
sense.
So
Went to
that was
Athens.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our second stop on the tour. And so we had, like, what was the house? I think it was maybe it was Beta. It was a Beta fraternity house. Probably
Nice.
had 550. Had a lot of people show up. And like I said, we have a massive stage. And it's just an all day. Like we get up there and we bring people on stage. We do giveaways. So it's a chance for these artists that typically play in front of a camera or maybe a bunch of tourists. It's like, oh, shoot, now I have 500 kids. I'm appealing to the audience. So like, let me, get some exposure from it.
I love that.
That's really cool.
I love that like grassroots approach too. Like it's why the music industry is the music industry, right? Like it's getting artists in front of large crowds of people.
Right.
It works. Like that's why you go on tour. We just saw Luke Combs over the weekend, and Lainey Wilson opened up for him. And I'm like, obviously she's amazing from Yellowstone, but like she's getting in front of these massive crowds of people.
Exactly.
And boom, now her, of course, that's the
It's insane.
It's also really cool. I moved here to do music many, many years ago, and I was just talking to someone recently about how hard it is to be a Nashville musician.
Yeah.
It is so hard. And like when you were talking about like how, you couldn't get any of these doors open when you were trying in your residency, like same thing for me, couldn't get a damn door open for music here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And now that was over 10 years ago, but now it's like so saturated where musicians are having to actually pay to play on Broadway or pay to play gigs. Yeah, I was literally talking to a very successful musician recently, and she was like, it's so challenging. Like it used to be the other way around where you get paid for music, and now it's like, oh, you want to play on our stage?
That's insane.
Here's the fee, because they know that they're a extremely successful bar where they're sold out every single night. There's a wait list to get in or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's just such a saturated town. And
There are all these like incredibly talented people, but if they are playing on Broadway, it's not like they're playing originals.
Right.
It's all
You have to
covers.
play
You got to
covers.
play. You got to appeal to what people want, and it is great exposure. But yeah, it's just insane. Like you're already taking the most competitive industry where there's zero help for anyone, super competitive.
Right.
And yeah, it's just even more saturated than it's ever been. And you have like TikTok, and you have a lot of people that'll blow up from social, which is great. But also, I feel like it gives a lot of people a false sense of hope because they're like, well, if I can't make it there, at least TikTok, maybe
Yeah, at
I'll
least
get
have social
legs.
media something.
But then,
Yeah.
even then, it's like, maybe.
Yeah,
It's-
that's just the reality of, I guess, being a musician in Nashville. So that's where we wanted to come in. Like, I love to play guitar. I'll never go on Broadway. I'm kind of a closet guitar player. I like finger picking before I go to bed, that kind of
That's
thing.
cool.
So we wanted to figure out a way, like, hey, how do we, when we go on these tours, what's a way that we can bring a lot of attention besides saying, yeah, hey, Six Pack and their team, we're going to the Phi-Sci house and we're going to drink beer. So it's like, hey, why don't we make this approach of let's put on this massive festival. Let's go recruit some good artists. And so that's what we did. We had 81 submissions or 82, whatever it was.
Wow.
And I went through, hand-picked them. Some of them were god-awful. Others were like, how are you not signed with somebody?
Yeah.
And so we've got a lineup of like 8 artists.
That's really cool.
And so we bring them, like we do like 6-month what's it called? I guess like terms. So we'll do like a July to December and then January to June. So we have like 2 tour seasons. And so we just finished up obviously that first one. And so with this one, we've got 8 artists. We bring like 3 or 4 to each show. They get paid. So it's not just like,
That's
hey,
great.
meet us in West Virginia. Like good luck getting there. So it's like they pay for everything, but we typically try to compensate enough to where it's like, hey, you broke even. Or
Yeah.
at least if you were frugal with your money, you broke even. You didn't go spend it all at the bar afterwards.
Yeah,
And
and
so it's a way of,
hopefully-
hey, they could pick up followers. They're getting their
Yeah.
attention out there. Like more importantly, it's like, hey, you're used to playing covers in front of 15 drunk tourists from Wisconsin. It's like, hey, you got, 600 college kids that want to hear music. And then it's kind of cool after the show, all the kids flock to them and like, dude, we loved your songs, blah, blah, blah. So it's cool. They get recognition.
Yeah.
They're getting exposure. And then on top of that, it's like, hey, Six Pack, we went to West Virginia. We picked up like 2,000 followers from that. That's
great.
And so it's like, all right, it's a way for us to establish kind of some presence there.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back there next year and kind of keep growing it every year.
That's awesome. That's a really unique approach. I really like that.
A little different.
Yeah, it is. It's super different.
It took a lot of convincing for a lot of these schools.
Really?
They're like, hey, so you want to play country music for 7 hours and you're not bringing like a Bailey Zimmerman or we had Bailey on one show.
Oh, that's cool.
But then I think he's on tour with Morgan Wallen or is he
Yeah.
about to be. So his rate just
Four
times
his
to what he
stock
was-
went way up.
Yeah, it's like I was getting him for a really good rate. He was kind of cutting us a deal, and now
Wow.
it's like, hey, I won't say what his rate is, but I was like, okay, yeah, we're never gonna be able to get you again.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like I said, it's a cool way to. It's a unique approach. I mean, these fraternities, they have money, they have a social budget. And like when I was social chair for my fraternity, and you put a 21-year-old in charge of $100,000, it's like, yeah, we're gonna go spend $5,000 on a party. Let's drop $50K on Waka Flocka. And so we come in back, hey, look, dude, I've been in your shoes. It is not worth it. Like, here's kind of what it takes to get us. We'll work with you guys on
Right.
budgets. Because, like, we don't profit from the tours. Like, you
just get that
I lose a
exposure.
lot of money from
Yeah.
it, but we're picking up followers. We're
Right.
picking up exposure.
Yeah, that's such
and
a
it just
great
kind of grows from
such
there.
a great investment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how you have to look at it. I think about like telling our clients, and we have a lot of small business owners that listen to this podcast, but like sometimes, you're going to lose money
Yeah.
when you are doing things that, you're drawing in the masses, you're providing a really great experience.
Right.
Like it's all about the consumer experience, period.
Right.
And that's what you're doing. And sometimes that means, you're in the red. You're not like profiting, but it's the brand exposure.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the followers that equates to sales eventually. And
Yeah.
it's just like the age old marketing takes 7 times before someone wants to buy, but you have to first date them, right?
Exactly,
You
yeah.
have to first court them. You have to first,
Yeah.
get them warmed up to you and just get the name out there as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We throw an event every year called the Renaissance Women's Summit. Sydney created it, put it all together, everything. And it's this full day event for, just like helping women entrepreneurs. There's a bunch of speakers, whatever. It's awesome. We don't make money from it.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's but the value that we get from it and the value that we're able to provide for it is, it pays for itself 10 times over. It's
Yeah.
great. Like, we'll get leads from it or just the connections, the relationships, the establishment of what it does for our business is incredible. So, yeah, you got to take those risks, and it just makes you so much more different than everyone else.
Exactly.
Which is the big thing.
I think you hit the nail on the head saying the customer experience. So for us, it's like the fraternity kid or the girls' experience. That's what's more important because they go home like, oh my God, that was the best Darty we've ever had here.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fraternity is like, big man on campus. It's like, yeah, that was our event.
That was theirs,
And so it's
yeah.
like, yeah, we may have given out, 1,500 shirts and lost a stupid amount of money, but it's like next time we go back, yeah, we're going to charge for those shirts. And we did the exact same thing. We've already gone to UT. And so this is the second time and we sold our shirts for $20 and all 500 shirts were gone that event.
That's great.
So it's like we give everything out and then you create that scarcity of just like, oh yeah, I want that 6-pack pocket tee or just like a normal shirt. So it's like I said, it's an investment. We're not there to make money. We're there to make the kids be like, okay, we want that every year. That was an experience better than some rapper getting up there for 45 minutes and then getting back in the car. It's like I got to hang out with the artist. We got to go out with the 6-pack team and have a beer, and we shotgunned a beer on stage. And so
That's
it's like
a ton of
obviously
fun.
it's a college market. So it's like, I'm 29. I haven't been in college in 8 years. So it's a little different getting back into that swing. But like I say, it makes that experience and it helps all those colleges grow, which helps 6-pack in the long run.
Yeah.
It's
And
really
like
cool.
I feel like with this Gen Z generation, I'm sure it's the same for us old millennials here. But I think for Gen Z especially, like that word of mouth for them, that is so strong.
Yeah, it's crucial.
It's like they're from what I just know from the girls in my office, like their friends are the influencers in their life. So like their friends may not actually be influencers, but they are so influential, and everything that they say, what they're listening to, what websites they're shopping on, what Stanley Cup they have, like whatever it is, they're very influenced by each other. And I've found that to be interesting just as a marketer, just kind of like, okay. And again, I mean, that's why influencer marketing is so powerful and why user-generated content is so powerful. But I think it kind of goes back to what you're saying too, is it's just like just getting there, giving these kids this awesome experience, and then all their friends that weren't able to be there, but they're seeing them posting about it on social, is giving them that FOMO. And then they're like, hell yeah, I'm going to be there next year.
Exactly.
I'm not going to miss out.
Just gets bigger from there. Yeah.
Well, I guess as we're kind of wrapping up, I'd love to hear from you 2 questions. One, what would you tell someone who is maybe in school right now that is doing kind of the norm? You go to high school, then you go to college, and you get an internship, whatever, and maybe they're at that level and they're wanting to go out on their own and do something, but they are scared and they're getting a lot of parental pressure to stay in the lane of like doing the normal thing, or their friends are like, that idea is stupid. It's already been done before. Like I'm sure you got, and that comparison thing. What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, I guess for me, my biggest, motivation and then turned discipline was just reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts. I hated reading growing up. I didn't have time to listen to podcasts, but like when I was in that first 30 months of like, should I do this? Should I back out? Like when I walked my dog, I was listening to audiobooks and podcasts. I was at the gym, I was listening. So constantly kind of like that affirmation of like, yes, you can do this. Here's positive steps versus, like I said, going on social media, seeing it's already been done, or your friends, hopefully they're not giving you negative advice, but some of those being like, oh, how's that little business coming?
Right.
Like I hated that shit. I got that
passive
belittling.
aggressive, little condescending.
Yeah, it's like, did you have to put little business?
Right.
I hated that so much. Yeah. And now I'm like, I mean, I could, kind of stoop down and be like, hey, how's, you're at that same job making
how's
no
that
money.
Cubicle, Jerry?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how's that 9 to 5, Jerry? But so yeah, it's like I'm lucky I'm in a position. I'm not making money. We are making money, but not enough to boast about it. But I guess to kind of back to the question, like there's probably, I try to read like a book a month, whether it's like a motivational book by like David Goggins, like these old Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6 guy, whether it's one of my favorite ones is a book called The 4 Agreements. And one of the big chapters in there is don't take things too personally. And so for me, that was like, I was this cocky college kid, like anything someone said to me, I was like, I thought you were trying to make fun of me. So now doing business, it's like that book kind of helped, I don't want to say change my life, that's very dramatic, but helped kind of set the narrative of like, okay, hey, not everyone's out to get you. Don't take things too personally when you're trying to go into business. Like don't listen to the negative influence, whether it is your parents, whether it's friends. It's like, at the end of the day, it's cheesy, but it's like, you just gotta be happy and passionate. It's like, for me, I would rather make less money and go this route of like, yeah, I get to go to all these cool cities. I get to put on live events. I've met so many cool people, and to me, that's more worth it than, putting on a pair of scrubs, going to work a 12-hour shift, operating on Jerry, and then having to go back 6 hours later and do the same thing. I know I just got like crazy off topic with that.
No.
But no, that's pretty much it. I mean, just take the risk.
Yeah.
And everyone's definition of success is different. Like if someone's definition of success is just money, then that's wonderful. That's your definition of success. I know for me, I want to live my own life by my own terms and define success how I define success, which is just being happy, being in a job that I love, getting to work with people that I love, getting to work with great clients. And, that may not mean that I have millions of dollars because we're in the business of entrepreneurship and, it's a small business.
Yeah.
But for me, it's about like being your own person and not having to listen to the man.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the woman.
I could sleep until 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. No one's going to make fun of me. I can go golf. Like the other week, I went golf with the owner of a brewery company here at like 9 a.m.
It's awesome.
Like, that's awesome. It's
really
like,
cool.
I'm a big dog guy.
And that's working. You're
working.
working.
I mean, that works. I'm technically a networking.
You're networking. You can write that off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I love
Picking a client out.
I love a good write-off.
There's meals and what's it called? Meals and or food and drinks, whatever the little QuickBooks tab is.
Meals and entertainment.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I've probably abuse that way too
We
much.
use that QuickBooks tab a
We
lot.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my most clicked one on there. Yeah. It's just like I love being able to spend time with my dog. Like I love dogs more than people. That's like in my bio of my personal Instagram. And so it's like being able to spend time with him versus like, yeah, let me throw him in a cage, come back 10 hours later like I was doing. It's like he's getting older. I get to spend, like he sits on my bed while I work. I'll go out and play red ball with him for 20 minutes while I'm on a call. So it's like, that's my
Sweet.
success. And then it's like, yeah, I may work till, I've had numerous nights where I'll work till midnight, 1 a.m. And then I'll get up at 6 or 7, chug my Monster and my Red Bull, and I'll get right back to it.
Right.
And so it's like I don't do that as much anymore because thankfully we've kind of set some, I guess.
You can delegate more.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of dish that off. And but yeah, I guess like my success is like I get to spend time with my dog, my girlfriend. That's kind of my 2 priorities right now.
And you're growing your own thing.
Yeah.
That's like for me, that's my definition of success is just being able to grow, like knowing that whatever I'm doing that day is making an impact to this business, to our team, to our clients. And that's my favorite shit in the world. It's like because I worked at a BMW dealership and there was nothing. I was like, well, you just sell a car to someone. That's it. Cool. But that was it. You're not really like making that big of an impact in BMW. They don't really give a shit if I'm here or there, whatever. It doesn't matter. They don't remember me. But here, it's like I wake up every single day and I'm changing something that's either gonna, improve Renaissance, hopefully not harm Renaissance, whatever. But I know that if I do something that fucks something up, I can go and make a positive change to fix it.
Yeah. That's something I'm trying to tell my roommate. He's trying to get into the entrepreneur, except for like real estate. And I'm like, dude, if you died, your boss would replace you. You get a bunch of tweets, maybe some, sincere cards, whatever it is, you're replaced in 2 weeks. I was like, dude, you're a number. I was like, you're a monkey in a system. So it's like, dude, take the money that you've made, go invest that, do something on your own. Most people don't do that. A lot of people just, they settle. They're very comfortable in whatever, a BMW job, a enterprise, like a Publix work. I mean, I'm not sitting there trying to shit on them. It's like, if you're happy with that, cool.
Yeah.
There's some people, it's like, I want more than that. I want to strive to have a better life or to be happy, not kind of working for the man.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a ton of people that are comfortable and they may hate it. Because there are a lot of people that love that. And, good for you. There's, again, no hate towards those people. But there are a lot of people that are in those jobs and they're fucking miserable. They're waking up and they're like, I don't want to deal with my boss. I don't want to deal with my coworkers. I hate this shit. But they're so scared to do it. And it's like, well, why?
Yeah,
What's
just
the
live for
issue?
Friday and Saturday, go to Broadway, get hammered till 2. And I was like, okay, I did that life when I was in school. But it's like, I don't want to live for Friday.
miserable,
It's
yeah.
like my Sunday afternoons look just like my Wednesdays. I'm still working, but I could take a 4-day bender like I just had and go to Knoxville, go to West Virginia, live off donuts and coffee for 4 days, and then get back to it on Monday. And no one's kind of pestering me to, I do have 72 emails I got to get to, but
Get to those emails.
get the gist of it.
Yeah. It's the freedom to just choose what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we call a Renaissance life here. Well, last question that we ask all of our guests. What's your definition? Usually when it's a woman, we say, what's your definition of a Renaissance woman? But what's your definition of a Renaissance man?
Ooh, changing the script a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to throw them off with this question, so I don't put it in the talking points.
I like that. Yeah. The definition of a Renaissance man. I guess, like I said, we've had a lot of people come through Six Pack, whether it's people working for us, interns, business owners that are either very greedy, they're just assholes to work with. And so, like I said, the definition of a Renaissance man for us is someone that like is just wanting to, I guess, kind of better themselves and honestly just take a risk, just not settle. So like I said, we have a lot of people that do that. They worked for us for 30 months not getting paid. Like my VP, Nick, I could talk your whole podcast about him, but like he'd be a definition of a Renaissance man. It's like, okay, we weren't super tight before we started this, but he worked 30 months for free. And it's just like, dude, I have no idea if this is going to be Barstool, if this is going to be, Tank in 30 months. And I just wasted, because he had a full-time job and was giving us probably like 4 hours a day, helping us build our website, getting, other contacts. And so I guess I love to go off topic and go down rabbit holes, but I guess the Renaissance man for me is someone that's like, like what do I need to get done? How can I overachieve that? And like, I'm willing to do it without expecting something in return.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the type of people that we look for, whether it's guys and girls. We have a lot of girls on our team. We have probably more guys, but we have just some badass girls on our team. And so I guess that kind of goes to Renaissance man and woman. But yeah, hopefully that's kind of my definition of what we look for in a Renaissance man or woman. doing.
I love that. Well, and that's why you're on the show. We love featuring people that have really inspiring stories, that have paved their own way, and that are kind of like living their Renaissance life, where it's just
taking
like
the risk. Just doing that.
The risk takers, and those are the people that make the most impact. So love what you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on this show. Where can everyone follow, obviously, Six Pack Coverage, but is there anything you want to push right now? Have at it. Mike is yours.
I guess, like our Instagram's at Six Pack Coverage. Our website, exact same thing, sixpackcoverage.com. We don't really have any type of agenda. Like I said, the goal was we want to build like an Amazon, where it's like a one-stop shop for the 6 areas we think can benefit everybody. So if you're big into sports like I am, hey, we've got podcasts on there that talk about the Titans or sports betting or the NBA playoffs right now. If you're into fitness or food or travel, like we've got hopefully something that kind of gravitates everybody to the website. And so we don't push any certain market. It's like, hey, here's our thoughts. Here's what we're doing. If you like it, cool. If not, we're still going to do it, but hopefully you change your mind or there's something else that you like on the site. But yeah, Six Pack Coverage, we're trying to be the next digital media company in Nashville, trying to grow from there and hopefully just kind of see where that gets us year by year.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show, and everyone, go follow Six Pack. Go to the website. Check it out. There's so much to access, whether you're a woman, man, whatever. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you both. This is awesome.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you soon.